Okay, so I guess by Eric not talking, that everybody else can hear me. Thanks very much, Eric. My name is Steve Kane. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Specialty Silicone Fabricators here in Paso Robles. SSF is a contract manufacturer of silicone components for medical devices. So we don't make silicone, but we make things out of silicone. So we specialize in rubber components. We have a quarterly continuous improvement meeting in our company. Each department every quarter gives this type of a presentation so we can learn from all the different departments within our company. And keep in mind too, our company is, we're split up into 3 facilities. There's Paso Robles, of course, Tustin, California, and then another one in Michigan. Elk Rapids, Michigan. So we connect everybody by video conference, and we have this kind of event once a quarter. And I've chosen a project or a Kaizen event we called Rush to Ship. Here in SSF Paso Robles, for about 20 years, we had a problem with our production, our different value streams, taking shipments out to the shipping folks midday and ask them, please, can you ship this today? It's got to go today to get to the customer on time, and not giving the shipping team enough time to really process the order properly. So in our shipping department, of course, we have to put the product into boxes, labels, all of that, but there's also quite a bit of time-consuming documentation that goes along with it. As you might imagine, in medical device, we're a heavily regulated industry, and everything we do is very thoroughly documented. So to ship something, it takes quite a bit of time to produce the documentation, get everything in order, and then go ahead and ship it out. We had this 20-year issue of getting out to the shipping department late. People were really getting frustrated with it, and we decided it was time to do something about it. So our situation was that our orders come in, and I'm going to see if I can highlight this for you. So orders come in, and the orders then go out to the 5 different value streams: dipping, extrusion, molding, sheeting, and engineering. So those are our different processes. Well, you can see a couple of these value streams. They would take the product and send it straight to shipping. Now, shipping would have to produce some documentation, and they would take that documentation back to final QC, get it signed off, and then final QC would bring it back into shipping. So not really the ideal state. At the same time, final QC is getting hit from extrusion, molding, and sheeting. And then shipping had to balance everything out and get flooded with orders. And they had to get all this done before 1 o'clock in the afternoon, of course, when the couriers picked up. So before April of 2013, about 80% of our orders were what we considered rushes. So that meant it came to the shipping department after 8 o'clock in the morning. We wanted to improve that. So the goal there was to level the load in shipping and also upstream in final QC. So we had to balance our orders with our inspectors and our equipment such that when the orders went from final QC out to shipping, there was a nice even flow and nobody was asked to rush. So if you want to improve anything, of course, the first thing you need to do is create a metric. You need to measure it. So you can see here, this is a daily metric, and we decided that we would start recording rushes on a daily basis. So any day that the shipping department was asked to rush something, they would come in and record this metric where we have our morning meetings. So here's another view of the same board. You can see the daily metrics over here on the left. So, and here's the rush to ship. So the way this works is shipping would tell everybody there was 1 rush to ship. So anytime we have something going outside of plan, we record the metric on a daily basis, and then we create an action item. So we just write this down on a Post-it note, and the action item here of the rush to ship was to figure out what went wrong in the process such that we had to rush the shipping department for a particular shipment. So that action item then gets assigned to an appropriate person, and is due on whatever date is appropriate to give enough time to look into it. So again, it goes to the appropriate person and then assigned on a particular date. So today's date, for instance, is the 13th. So these are the action items that get reported out on today. So the idea is that something went wrong, we drive action, we get to the root cause. So as we looked into what was going wrong, we discovered that Final QC, they didn't have really sufficient visibility of what was coming at them. Essentially, the inspectors were coming in every day, and they just knew that they needed to inspect and provide documentation for all of the orders that piled up on them. And they just came in and inspected all day long, and that was all they had, was just visibility essentially of their own little workspace. And they did the best they could, they worked very hard, and they sent product downstream. So we discovered that because everything's getting piled on them, they're not really in a position to regulate the flow, and they didn't have any visibility upstream to see what they should expect to come their way and balance things out in the Final QC department. So one of the things they did, they started putting together visual management, and we decided we'll use our wits over our wallets. We had poster paper, we had Post-it notes, we had pens, so we developed a visual management system, and we went through many different iterations here where each person could see what was going on one day to the next, and we could also see what days were going to be very, very busy. So we kept going, really small PDCA cycles, plan, do, check, adjust. We would try something, see how it worked, and then we would refine it over and over and over. And then when we felt like it was really stabilized enough, we moved over and started putting things on a whiteboard. And a couple of things that we saw we decided to do on the whiteboard, once we had visibility of the manufacturing jobs that were hitting Final QC, we would keep track of what we were able to do and the number of jobs that were actually coming through. So what we ended up with, once we had visibility, we could see for each of the operators and each day of the week, we could kind of forecast, get an idea of what the workload was going to be like, and more importantly, we could balance out the work for the inspection equipment. So because we're a job shop, not everything gets inspected the same way or on the same type of equipment. So we have a variety of different pieces of equipment. And gosh, we have several hundred different inspection criteria depending on the job or on the product that's going through Final QC. The visual management ended up that we could see from one day to the next what was expected of us. So these here are all of the shipments that are expected to be inspected. And then as they get inspected, they come down into this lower area here for packaging, and then the bottom area is being released into the shipping. So that's what we see here. So the operators, they're able to see what's happening today. They can see what's going on tomorrow. They already know what these jobs are actually on the production lines right now. They know what equipment they need to use. So they can basically adjust the flow through Final QC such that all of these jobs will get through more smoothly and into shipping on time. Down here at the bottom, you can see this green button. This is a quick indicator of workload. So green means that the number of jobs to be inspected is really within our capacity. We know how many jobs that we can inspect per day given the number of people we have and the equipment. So we start measuring that and we start anticipating bottlenecks. Orange means we're really pushing our capacity, and red means we're exceeding our capacity, and we'll be working overtime to keep shipping running smoothly and keep the delivery on time. So what we ended up with, once the inspection operators had visibility up the value stream and down into shipping, they were able to communicate up and down and get a better view of what was happening, anticipate their workload, and smooth things out as the work came. We also standardized the work. So if you remember before, we had engineering was going straight into shipping, as was dipping. Well, we changed that process such that everything now goes straight into Final QC. And Final QC took over the document preparation from shipping. So now there's one standardized process, regardless of where the shipment is coming from. Everything goes through Final QC, and shipping receives a very standardized package, including the product to be shipped, the documents that are necessary, and they're able to work much more efficiently. So what we saw in about a 6-week period, we went from 80% rush to ship down to 30% rush to ship. So that was back in April. Today, we've refined this process, stabilized it to the point that it's under about 5% now rush to ship. So the following step, of course, once we made the improvement and we finished our Kaizen event, was to celebrate. At SSF, we find this to be very, very important. We want to reward people for hard work, and we want to encourage people to take on bigger challenges. So we had a happy hour for folks, and we had also a bit of a learning session from that. At the end of the event, we looked back and kind of reflected on what we had accomplished. And I heard an earlier question of, well, how much money did you save? We don't know how much money we saved with this, but we do know that the shipping team was actually able to slow down, and as a result of slowing down, they're able to get more orders through the shipping process in a shorter period of time. So the result of that is now, instead of the shipping department actually working on shipping all day long, they now have the majority of the day devoted to shipping, and they devote a portion of every day to continuous improvement. And the continuous improvements are reaching out throughout the facility, so they're able to make things more efficient. So it's really kind of a domino effect. One Kaizen event made things a little bit easier for folks and gave them more time to work, greater capacity to now take on other Kaizen events and more continuous improvement activities. What questions can I answer?
Okay, Steve, I just want to confirm, we are still here and alive. Let's see, as far as questions, I got a message here, not small to folks at home. So, good. All right. So, anybody have any questions? Any questions in the room here for Steve? Or Chester, what can we do? What can we ask Steve?
So it sounds like there's been a big success for shipping, but how does this additional workload of standardizing paperwork impact FQC?
So Steve, did you hear that, or?
No, I couldn't get that.
So give it to me again. I wasn't ready.
Seems like this was good for shipping, but how has the extra workload impacted FQC now that they're taking all 5 departments?
Yeah, so this seems like it was good for shipping, but how does this affect your FQC area? Was it an overload for them or what?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. That's something that we were concerned about. So yeah, our Final QC, a large portion of what they do is prepare documents and send it into shipping, and shipping was handling some of the documents, sending it back to Final QC for verification. That was kind of a moment where we looked at the process and thought, how in the world did we ever get there to get to the point where we had documents actually going in circles for verifications? So what we were actually able to do was we moved that responsibility to Final QC, but because it smoothed out the process, it eliminated the delivery to shipping, delivery of documents to shipping, and then the receiving of documents from shipping, that it actually made it easier for Final QC, that once they had something in their hand, they could begin it and they could finish it and move it on rather than put a project basically on pause until the verification step was completed. So we did move responsibility upstream, but it actually smoothed things out for everybody involved. And I see a question here, it looks like from Robert. Is it possible to add another courier run in the late afternoon? I wish. We're in Paso Robles. This is a rural courier route, and we actually get our deliveries and our pickups at the same time of the day, which is about 1:30 in the afternoon. So we get one shot at it. So the answer is no. We're actually not able to add another courier pickup. So I see another question. This is great. Would there be a way to guild the FQC directly to the people in each department to build quality directly in the product? We do, yeah. That's a great question. Something we struggle with. One of the things that we have to do, being in medical device, is provide the final QC inspection. Our customers actually do require final QC inspection and documentation. So this is actually a value-added step where I think in most industries, of course, inspection is not. The customers require it, so the customers are charged for it. What other questions can I answer?
Any other questions in the room here at Cal Poly?
I'm curious, who kept up with the track report? Whose job did that become?
Oh yeah, a good question. So who kept up with the tracking report there, Steve?
The tracking report. So I'm not sure if you mean the daily metric for rush to ship. It's actually the shipping department. The people who actually feel the burden of being rushed, they're very, very happy to maintain that metric. When something gets shipped, of course, they're very quick to record it and go after the root cause.
Good. So let's see. Other kind of, I don't see any new chat questions. Any other questions from the room here? Okay, Steve, thank you very much. We're gonna go ahead and turn it over to Cal Poly and Troy and see if we can make that happen. Thank you very much. And we'll give you also a virtual clapping session here too.
Thank you.